You chilling with the vibe. We lit.
I'm here, you know I'm here. This amazing podcast, The Vibe.
What's good, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good night. This is Mike the B from All the Vibes. If you're returning to Volume 2, man, we love y'all. Appreciate the support. If you're new, we love y'all too. A hip-hop podcast based around black culture, black music, black sports, black fashion, everything black. And highlighting some artists you might not even know about. Volume 2 is going up. It's going crazy. Let's go. What's up? Hello, everyone. This is All the Vibes, Volume 2, the finale. Which episode is this? 9 or 10? I think it's episode 9. Either way, this is episode 10. Either way, it's been a hot minute. Welcome back. Thank y'all for being patient. Let's introduce ourselves first. My name is Micah B. Everybody calls me Mike though.
DJ P Swag. Everybody call me P. Or DJ P Swag.
That's how you was coming for the last episode?
I felt there was a need to, be real. So
okay. Don't argue with that. Who's next?
Scammer Man Chris.
Who's next?
Y'all know who the fuck I am. And if you don't, my name's Mary. Follow me. Big Dog Mary May.
Who's next?
My name is Noname J. I'm back.
Been a hot minute.
Yep, Noname J on the socials. That's it.
Yeah. Today we're missing your fire's auntie. She's on a business trip. So we don't want to take her away from that. So we just congratulations on your business venture. So continue with your endeavors as they go. With that being said, the reason it's been taking so long. Well, first off, as you can see our cups here, we're gonna shout out a couple places. We're in Kansas City. First off, this is at the Director's Cut Barbershop on 18th and Vaughn.
Yes.
Very historic district here in Kansas City, especially for black people in general. Back to it. So the reason why it's taking so long to be here is one, because we already know everybody's very aware of what's going on in the world right now. We had a final episode, but honestly, it just didn't fit literally the time of what's going on. And at that time, which is right now, the big thing all around the country and around the world is Black Lives Matter, which has really been amplified due to the death of George Floyd in, was that Minnesota, I believe? Where was that at? Was that Minnesota?
Minnesota or Minneapolis?
Minneapolis. Yes, correct. Anyway, so kind of want to take this episode and just make it, it's just a more serious issue, and it's something that I feel like we're doing a disservice, and it's just the wrong thing to do not to talk about it. So first off, with the Black Lives Matter movement, it's really just a discussion-based type thing for us. How in this time have y'all felt just with the whole protest, all the protests going on? You get the backlash from, the other side, the opposite side, the Trump supporting side. You see the protests, you see people still getting harmed. How has that made y'all personally feel right now? It doesn't matter who answers it. I can answer first if I want to, but I don't want to answer my own question first.
I know for me personally, it's been really eye-opening, and it's kind of really been good for our people we're really just fed up. And not only is, there's a lot of social media attention that's being brought. And so now it's being seen on an international, global level.
Right.
And I just feel like the movement right now in this given time, it's just so powerful. And it's really, even though it's a lot of work to still be done, it really feels really good to actually see that we're going to get some change now. Whether, it's step by step, grain by grain, something is going to happen because that attention is now being brought, and there's no more hiding it. There's no more keeping it secret. So it's really been really uplifting.
Everybody else feel how I feel?
I promise I'm not laughing at the subject matter, y'all. I promise. But honestly, it is frustrating. It is definitely frustrating. Honestly, I'm very proud to see the unity, not amongst just our people, but the unity amongst oppressed people together. You got the LGBTQ plus community coming together. You have white people being allies, saying stuff, using their privilege, using their platforms to speak up. You have black people's voices being amplified, which is necessary during these times. It's something we've been constantly fighting for hundreds of years, but it's good to know that I think right now we're just coming together, and it's unfortunate that it took a whole pandemic for us to really come together, but it's nice to see in regards to the unity, because I feel like right now the oppressed people ain't having it, and we're coming together right now in the streets, legislation, signing petitions, being vocal, using our platforms, using our arts to be as focused on the movement as possible, which is good.
You know, makes me angry, makes me mad. Like honestly said, frustrated. But, you know, being aware in today's society, you're always mad. You're always frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as that, you know, I always have to have those feelings. But I would say, just touching off what y'all were saying, the unity and I guess the momentum that the movement has right now, as far as like size-wise, I haven't seen anything like bigger or more united. At one time, every state had protested. There's countries overseas protesting.
Again, witches and people, I don't know witches do.
Man,
How did the Amish find out about it? Who knows? But they were there.
came out
Yeah.
of sorcery.
And I was just
Sorcery. That's what I'm saying.
it does give me hope that things will change. And also, I don't know, me personally, I always feel some type of way, but I can't. I feel like we should be accepting of people who now, since everyone else is doing it now, they find the courage. I don't think I do, but sometimes I don't think it's right for me to hold it against people that didn't have the courage or the intuition or the desire to speak up before it was quote unquote seemed okay. You know what I mean? And I don't know. Like I said, that kind of makes me feel a certain type of way because all these people are coming out speaking on this and that, but they never did before. But now it's seen as okay. You know, like somebody literally came out and said that it's now it's okay for us to speak out. So now I'm speaking out.
Mm-hmm.
So.
That's all good.
I feel a lot. It's a lot of feelings, but I do feel hopeful that, you know, things will change.
I feel the same way. I feel like a part of me is kind of like, where were y'all when there were cases before George Floyd?
Right.
There was cases. You got Eric Garner, you got Trayvon Martin, you got Tamir Rice, you got countless other cases. Kid Boy, like you got some as far as probably Rodney King, where people could have been vocal. But it's also kind of like you kind of understand why people aren't vocal because the fear of being blacklisted or blackballed from certain industries, the fear of being silenced or repercussions. So it's like I understand with one hand, but it's also like Black people constantly have to face consequences for just existing. So you speaking up and then the fear of maybe not starring in a movie or being in that profession as successful as you hope for is nothing in comparison to the consequences that Black people have for just existing.
Absolutely.
So it's definitely mixed emotions. I feel you in that regard.
Man, I don't know. Honestly, this whole time, like, it's been a lot of different emotions for me. This whole thing, like, is overall frustrating. I can agree, but it also makes me excited, like, that change is happening. And I think seeing it, like, you know, you hear about this protests everywhere, but when you see pictures and videos, like, it's hundreds and thousands of people that you think of like, we real small, it's a real, I don't know, like not segregated, but like just groups of us, like, you know, think about how huge it's hidden everywhere. Like it's people who don't understand, but then you see the people who really are out here supporting and rooting for us and rooting for change with us. It actually made me dive into like more of like my family history, like hearing different stories, like people, like close to me, like dealing with cops. Like my uncle got killed by a cop, and like that story was very low key and stuff. Like we just digging information. So no, it's moving overall. It's moving, but it's kind of numbing. It's also like videos, certain stuff you read. It's like gruesome, and people are like really shocked that this really be happening. Like this was happening before cameras was there. That's the thing,
Right.
Yeah. I think
That's really the thing that people
For
that
real.
don't understand. It's like, bro,
you think this
all
is
this stuff is happening that's getting caught on camera. Before this shit, before social media,
it was
100 times worse.
Much worse.
Before, bro, like Rodney King wasn't the first brother to get pulled over and jumped by cops.
Yeah.
It just happened that some dude crossed the bridge or whatever, seen it, got his camera around, recorded it. It ain't like
I watched the whole documentary about like, so like when you think of Eric Garner, you think probably like the first case of somebody dying in a chokehold. So like when I watched Let It Fall, and it was about the LA riots, and it was stemming from 1982 to 1992 or whatever.
Yeah, I'll watch it exactly.
It was so good, and I feel like it was a great representation of how like this didn't come out of nowhere. Like there was actually a black man who died in the early '80s from chokeholds from LAPD, and I didn't know this.
Came out and said, basically said that black people aren't normal.
Yeah.
It's like, it's weird that he died.
Yeah.
The chokehold, other people don't die.
Yeah.
Or what?
Yeah, so, and it's crazy because, like, it was only, I guess, in the LAPD, there was 2 methods of, like, teaching chokeholds, but, like, the one method that they were using was the most lethal one, and, like, they were consistently putting pressure on his windpipe. So it's just, like, that's just one case of somebody dying from a chokehold, or, be screaming, I can't breathe, There's a lot of it. I just feel like, I agree with you, like, I feel like right now, we're just seeing a lot of saturation of videos of people dying like this. But like black people always been dying, and I feel like also too like when it comes to seeing these videos, it is a lot. Like Killer Mike explained it very well. We watch it like it's murder porn. Like we watch it consistently, we replay it, people share it, we post it, all of that. And I get the point of raising awareness, but like for black people, it becomes a numbing thing.
It's definitely
desensitized to it. And it's a lot. Like maybe not even just black people. Like people watching it just become desensitized. It's like, damn, it's just another day in America, or damn, it's just another day in the world. And that should not be the point. The point is you should be just as shocked and as moved by it how you were with George Floyd's, Eric Garner's, cases. And just because it's videotaped doesn't make it any less traumatizing. I'll say that.
Absolutely. I think, though, that, like you said, us being, black people in America and understanding that this has been going on our whole life, it's just like we hear about these things. It's like yeah, we're outraged, but there's only so much that we expect. Mm-hmm. So like when when a situation happens like this, where it's caught on video, then it's like, okay, there's I feel like there's a level of optimism that this crime will get justice, because otherwise it's hearsay, and their hearsay is always correct.
Exactly.
So
also, if it's okay, I kind of want to bring attention to the fact that like when cases aren't videotaped, so like Breonna Taylor's case.
Yeah, that's a big reason why I think that George Floyd has been the martyr in this whole movement, because there's no ambiguity to it.
Right.
Like yes, when we hear the story, we know Breonna was murdered. Mm-hmm. When and even with Ahmaud, like he was also murdered. Mm-hmm. But there's still spaces between where people can literally come out and say, "Oh, we didn't see what happened." Mm-hmm. Bro, that brother was gunned down in the street, but people still find a way. So I feel like with this one, like I said, there's just straight footage of the whole thing. There's no ambiguity.
No resistance.
There's no room at all to be like, well, we don't know the context. Yes, you do.
Right. You can see it.
Exactly. So I feel like that's a big reason why his case in particular is pushed to the forefront, because it's naive people can't even deny it. Right. So
like going back to I think for me, at least with the whole thing, I think it's been more like of an overwhelming. I just have like I don't have a content like with anything right now. So like I think this is the most I've read on my own, trying to really realize how hard the change really is. Like what's to come. Like I feel like we should feel good about like what we see, but it's like so many like small like nooks and crannies that you have to like figure this thing out through from our side, from political side, like all this change and stuff. Like even like from Martin Luther King, his change. I mean, yeah, we got to a better spot, but it's still like loopholes to put us in the same spot. And niggas like just don't understand like in the legal systems. Like I think for me it's been good, because I'm thinking before I speak, because I'm looking to make sure what everything is. But none of this, I'm not content with anything like with they had the law they passed with Breonna Taylor, whatever, no chokehold, but didn't arrest anybody. Like that doesn't make sense. You have George Floyd, they got arrested great. How can you get out on bond? How can you pay that? How do you have the money to pay this? You still get like these pensions and things like that. Like all this stuff, like I'm trying to think about. I'm like, damn, like this is like, I wouldn't call it a trap, but it's like if you could encage somebody in like a big space where you wouldn't think you're encaged, that's what it kind of feels like to me. And it's like, I don't know, it's a movie like, maybe it's like Jim Carrey's actually in the Globe or something the whole time. He doesn't even know. Like The Simpsons. Yeah. The Simpsons is a good example. Like you live in your city still, but you can't go anywhere because you're in this fat ass globe. You can see through it, like you know what's on the other side of it, but you can't get to it. It's like, that's how I feel about it, kind of. And that's like an extreme standpoint. but kind of going off that, we said something about like the unification part of like everybody. But my thing is just specifically for like black people. The matter is Black Lives Matter, which I feel like should be common sense to know this is for all, but we still see like you have the gay community, trans community, you still have this deaths going on, they don't know, like that's happening all the time. Like this ain't brand new either. This has been happening for a long time. Even like for me, even black people that don't like on the opposite side, like just don't understand, like on the Trump side, even though like that shit like pisses me off, it's still for me. I'm still included because at the end of the day, you are no better than these things. So how do y'all feel about there's still like that divide as far as black people? Why is it so important for us to make sure that everybody's included in this type of like under that Black Lives Matter thing? Like, why is that so important? At least to you. I mean, I think it's common sense, but at least what do y'all think?
To black people in the movement?
Yeah, why is that? But why is that being such a difficult thing? Like we saw, I can't remember the girl's name, but
Tony McDade.
Is that who that was at the gas station?
Well, Tony McDade is a trans man who like nobody's really talking about in the Black Lives Matter movement. He was shot and killed at an apartment complex after being attacked by a group of people. So.
That too. I'm sorry, the girl got beat up at the gas station for like a fender bender or something. It was like 15, 16, like dudes like hitting like on this, like it just didn't make sense, bro. So like that type of thing. So I guess I can solve my question maybe kind of confusing, but for me, I think that a lot of people say like the Black Lives Matter things, but exclude like maybe you see like black homeless people. Like not even thinking about it, like you're like, well, almost like these aren't as good as you. At the same time, we're on the same level. We're already at a point of struggle here. It should be easier to include everybody, regardless. I think the hard thing for people is to disagree, and you have to be disrespectful. Like I can disagree with you. I might not agree with what you're doing, but at the end of the day, it don't change. Like I don't feel no type of way because you decide this is how you want to live your life. Like cool, I still got love for you. At the end of the day, as long as you show love back, I'm just off your character first before anything. I feel like though we get it, it's still a problem. Like I don't know where it is. Kind of like when y'all like your girlfriend, boyfriend did something wrong in public, I wouldn't ridicule in front of people. But when we get back home, it's like okay, bro, like why would you do that? Like that type of thing.
I agree.
That's what it is to me.
So like I wrote something about it, like a little thing, and I really think it's just deeply rooted in our black community. Not all black people. I feel like the black community is deeply rooted in like religion. So our religion is our focus on religion can be definitely homophobic.
That's America.
That's America, but for black people, there's just a whole nother level for it. Like we have this mindset. Yeah, we have this mindset. What happens in this house stays in this house, and one of the things that happens in the house is homophobia. We don't talk about homophobia and sexual abuse, so we don't really talk about it. And then when it comes to actually raising awareness and fighting and advocating for those people who experience those things, we're silent. And I think it's just deeply rooted in the fact that we're so caught up in our narrow-minded like views, like religion-wise or politics-wise, that we forget to advocate like the preservation of one life is the preservation of all lives. So for Black Lives Matter, it didn't say Black Lives Matter Black men. It doesn't say Black Lives Matter straight women. It says Black Lives Matter. So that should be inclusive. The fact that you have to put like all Black Lives Matter in regards to this movement doesn't make sense because even the founders of the movement some of them identify within the LGBTQ community. So it makes no sense. And somebody put it to me very plainly, like when you see right now in the movie right now, you see a lot more women and a lot more members of the LGBTQ right now fighting and advocating and being on the front lines, withstanding rubber bullets, withstanding tear gas, withstanding so many conditions to be able to advocate for all of our lives. So the fact that we still have that little bit of sliver of homophobia within it is frustrating because it makes no sense why we're raising awareness about these cases, we're trying to put pressure on these cases, but we're still not giving recognition to certain cases such as Tony McDade. It makes no sense. This was somebody who was shot and killed, cold blood. And if you look at the evidence that's around it, like this was somebody who was shot and killed. Police said, "Don't move, nigger," and was shot and killed multiple times after putting his hands up and trying to do the right thing within a police encounter. And this was also on Facebook Live, so it's not like it's no footage of it or a lot of people don't know about it. No, there's enough people know about it, but it's just we don't really advocate for our LGBTQ brothers and sisters. We don't really advocate to the certain extent that we do for black men like we do for black women like we do for black men. And I really think it's just deeply rooted in untraditional views on sexuality and gender and all that. And I feel like it's gonna mess us up in the end of the day because the preservation preservation for one life is a preservation for all lives. And if you don't have that mindset, how can we end so-called white supremacy? How can we end police brutality if you still, at the end of the day, you have a sliver of white supremacy still ingrained in you? Because that's what it is inherently. White supremacy is like the oppression of all marginalized people. So if you still have that whole level of homophobia and gender roles and stuff like that, we're not going to get that far. We'll get something, but we won't get that far for all of our people.
Anything else? So I think for me at least, going off that kind of, I think a lot of people, when you look like religious people, for me, like growing up in a church setting, like just knowing, like having the knowledge of, just religion in general, people like to pick and choose what fits. So like if it doesn't fit, they won't use it. Like for example, like for the gay community, like they're like, oh, being gay and sin was so is lying. Like it's all the same. Like nothing, like someone still like none of that. It has a level to it. It's all on the same level.
It is.
So like I'm 100% sure you can like I'm 100% sure today probably like I can say everybody pretty sure most part has, I don't care who you are. So boom, well that cancels out. What's next? That type of thing. So I think just like especially it's like I feel like my older community, like my grandparents' age, even some parents, depending on how old they are, like the way they talk, we talk to them about this thing. Like most of the time, it's from a place of well, God says this, and this. Okay, cool. I know that I'm not disrespectful to that. However, you're picking what is gonna feel like a puzzle piece right now. And if I open up the whole thing, you're gonna be like, oh well, what? Like what now? What now? Like that type of thing. So, like I said, I think the big thing for everybody is like it's so easy just like to kind of just think before you speak type thing. And then for the older generation, they're just hard headed. It's almost like kids sometimes. So that came full circle pretty fast. I'm not speaking on everybody, but in that case, going kind of off that, this should get straight into it. Cause I feel like this will probably be the longest part. Just like going off the whole black women, it's easy to understand. I do think black women are the most oppressed in this time, and like they're gonna get the least amount of credit. It's gonna be the hardest. Just like you said, just from the top down. I believe that to be very true. So, Noname puts out a tweet. Noname, if you know what Noname is, she's a rapper. I think she's based out of Chicago. I don't know. I was just gonna paraphrase it.
The tweet, yeah.
Go ahead. You.
I don't know the word by word, but the tweet was some of our favorite rappers or who make
your favorite top selling artists or making music
about
charting
black
off
plight.
of the black struggle, black plight. Meanwhile, they're nowhere to be found. So real quick, can I start?
Yeah.
I want to address this on rip. So, can we get the notion out that she was not talking directly about J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar?
Bro, she was not.
So here's the thing. So, people want to talk about other top selling artists. There's about 4 other top black selling artists, basically. It's not Drake. Kanye has not talked about the black struggle for a while. Jay-Z, even though it was 444, she's not talking about him either because 444 is not top selling. Top selling is not Wale. Stop. Love Wale. He's talented. He ain't top selling.
Wale is not top
He's
selling.
not top. That's just facts. He's not top selling. Top selling is Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole. That's just the facts. She said top selling. They are top selling. So when she put that out, she was directing toward them. That's what I got. Anybody else want to say something about the tweet? Or can I go?
I got something to say about the tweet.
I agree with the tweet.
I do agree.
I feel like there's no way that you can justify that she was not talking directly about those two.
I agree.
I don't
I
agree.
feel like regardless, I think the tweet was like.
I don't agree.
I don't have a problem with the tweet because she was right.
Yeah, but I feel like if you want change to happen, you want other people amongst in the industry to make change and speak about it. You tweeting them, I don't feel like that's what you need to do. You need to go outside and have a conversation. Like, listen, we have a platform, blase, whatever we need to do. You making a subliminal tweet about somebody, and then now you upset because he came back and made his song about it, but you lame for that too. And then you do the same thing and come back with another song after that.
I'm not gonna call either of them lame. She spoke what was in her heart, and that's how she felt. Now conversations could have been had at every point. I don't know. She might not have any contact information. She might not know. She might not be cool with them like that.
Yeah.
She also could have She also could have challenged them instead of more so call them out. She could have. Honestly, I would have had a less problem if she literally just called them out. Like J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, I need y'all to do more. And I would have had a less. I don't know.
I would like, I would love to see
because
J. Cole and Kendrick out here.
Right, like first, like if you're gonna say what you say, then say it with your chest. Don't delete it.
But that's where I lost credibility.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Don't be ashamed of what you said. She said everything's valid. Why'd you delete it?
But was J. Cole
Okay, no.
not out?
But
Was he not out?
it was the day after. The first time we saw him out was the day after the tweet. But I would say that.
But you can't believe that he doesn't protest.
No, definitely not. I don't
Exactly.
agree with that. I don't agree
But
with that.
let's address the tweet though. So
Okay, so
tell me
for
how
the tweet,
tell me who else it could be.
How I view the tweet, I feel like it was top selling. Okay, you could narrow it down for
To
hip hop artists.
four
you
black
you can
artists.
narrow it down. Let me
It's
finish.
four.
Let me finish. You could definitely narrow it down. I just feel like it was a general statement, but people got to pick and choose who they assumed it was, and that's exactly what happened. People pick and choose who they assumed it was. She never said who it was. You can't discredit her because she never said exactly who it was.
But off of that logic, I could literally say J. Cole's song wasn't by her.
No, did
Until he came out the next day and mentioned her, I could have been saying that.
Could
But
you?
Yes, because he did not mention her. That's
Okay,
it.
I'll
That's
give
her
you that. I'll give you that.
Now, what I would say, it would be general if she did not say top selling. She said she's.
There are
Honestly,
multiple top
But I'm
selling
saying she was
artists.
so
You gotta name
specific.
them.
She said she
Like-
not only said
like
top
four.
selling, she also said that talk about the black struggle. There's not too many top selling artists that talk
Cole
about
just
the
came
black
out
struggle.
with 444 and people just
Wasn't top
criticizing.
selling.
It
And
was too
and
top
just-
selling.
And I already said that. I said, yeah, he came out. She could be talking about 444, but that was a couple years ago, and I don't think she's talking about it.
But no, that was like the most recent album that we have. Like Kendrick's and J. Cole's albums are predates.
Jay-Z's on that J Electric album, but if you don't listen to
But
that
when
shit,
I'm being dead ass, like
that's hard. No,
Kendrick
that's
and
stupid
J. Cole's album predates the 444
I'm saying,
album.
but
The most
I'm saying,
recent
but they-
album about Black Fight was the
But they have
444
also
album.
come out with music since then. Might not be an album about that, but let's be clear. Like Kendrick Lamar, for sure, his entire discography is about the black struggle. J. Cole,
For sure,
not as
we-
much, but
we know
still
that.
still talks about a shit ton. There's no, you know, she was.
Let
she
me
might,
finish.
listen, she
You
might,
know,
she
you
might
know,
not have
let me
been
finish.
talking strictly about those two, but she definitely had at least one of them in mind.
All I'm
when she
saying
made that
is
tweet.
it was a general
I take that.
statement. It was a general statement, and people do that all the time. But the moment she did it, it was frustrating because it's one of the two artists that people love to stand. And that's my frustration with it. It was like one of the two artists that everybody loves and they want to fight and support. But my thing is, if somebody else would have said that, or maybe somebody else would have said another general statement, it might not have came from her as bad. And people do it all the time. Malcolm X criticized Martin Luther King all the time. Martin Luther King
Malcolm X
criticized Malcolm X
grew
all
from
the time. And he did. So allow her the opportunity to grow from it. We're not even allowing her the opportunity to grow from it. We're automatically
We definitely not. We definitely.
I said-
you're
I said-
nitpicking at her at a general statement she made, and as soon as people started making connections with J. Cole or Kendrick, she deleted the tweet.
So
and then the next day we saw J. Cole at the
Here's
protest.
the thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Here's the thing.
I ain't
I wholeheartedly, I know where you're coming from. I really don't think you can make this a general. She made it too specific.
I don't know, bro.
Here's the thing. She didn't make it too specific by what she said.
But so did J. Cole.
Oh,
He
let me-
made it
let
too
me-
specific
Let me
too.
finish. I heard his was a direct response. I'm gonna get to him. Trust me, I'm gonna get to him. But she made a specific statement about that. Like they're like.
But do you not agree? Like some of our top selling artists right
That's
now
what
about Black Fire are
I've
nowhere
already
to
said
see.
that. I already said that. My whole point is you're trying to make it sound like she's like the victim.
I didn't say she was the victim.
She said what she said. First off, say what you said. Don't delete the tweet because that's what you said. And you were thinking about them when you said it. There's no way that one of those two weren't in her mind when she said that very particular tweet. She was just making it about Jay-Z. Hell no.
Maybe.
No.
Maybe. It might have been multiple artists.
There's not.
I think she should have named them.
So if we're gonna include
I
Jay-Z,
She should've
there's
named
only
them. If you're gonna make
three
it
top selling
There's
artists.
three. But my thing is,
So that's what I'm saying. Like she
even with her saying top selling artists, at the end of the day, when I read it, I still viewed multiple artists.
immediately was like,
I
damn,
didn't
she's calling
immediately-
out J. Cole and Kendrick
I
Lamar.
didn't immediately think that. It might be
Because
because
they're
I know the fact that they're involved and stuff, so I would hope she wouldn't say
No,
that.
and that's why I thought I was like, damn, she's going at them, and they're not
They're
activists.
They were
but they
always
do
active.
it. But
At
they
least
do
J.
it.
Cole was always active.
They're
Protest
active, but they're not. Here's the thing: they're active, but they're not an activist. I'm gonna get to that later because I feel like I don't know if it's necessarily right to attack somebody just because you do it more. That's
This
another.
is
Let's just go past this. Are we still on the tweet? Are we still on the tweet?
to J. Cole?
Yes. Can we get on the?
really go.
So the
let's go
tweets
to-
happened, but we saw about the tweet. We're not in agreement. Great, perfect. So now we're on to the J. Cole drops a song
Okay,
a couple days ago.
Yes.
So now let's get into the bread and butter of it. Okay.
it came.
Go ahead.
It came from a place of insecurity.
It did.
I
It
agree.
definitely
Absolutely.
did.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. He said that.
But
And,
my-
and that it doesn't make it okay, but I'm saying it's like, here's the thing.
He
She
stood on what he
she
said.
came out and spoke how she felt. I don't like it. My main thing is that she deleted it. I don't like that because it makes me feel like you felt that you shouldn't have said it.
Maybe. And
But-
didn't we just say Malcolm X grew from
But
it. Maybe
Cole-
she
we're
grew from
talking
a
about
tweet.
But look, Cole put it out and he stood on it. He wasn't
No,
funny. He was
I
like,
just-
nope,
you know,
I agree with it.
She's giving people
Yeah.
fuel
Good
when she
aside.
deletes her words.
Yeah.
So I just wish she wouldn't have deleted. But Cole felt insecure. He felt insecure because he felt that she came for him, which I believe she did, and he felt like he wasn't doing enough. So it came from a place of insecurity. If he felt like he was actually doing enough, then he probably would have had no issue with it. However, I will also say he's very consistent with J. Cole. J. Cole, at any point in time, if he feels attacked or if he's insecure about something, he will respond.
He attacked
He
him.
responded to Lil Pump.
Fucking Biggie Simmons.
He got that's what he got to.
He gave Biggie Simmons a time of day.
Diggy Simmons?
They dropped.
Yes.
He released songs. They were
Yeah.
going at each other.
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know about this.
So he like
This was like it's like
It was a couple
2009 or something. Yeah,
he made a
like
song because they thought Biggie thought it was talking about his sister.
And it was
They went to
Angie.
school to, nah, it was but no.
Oh, I know.
I don't know. They went to school together and people thought that he was talking about her, and Biggie thought that too. That was the thing.
Really? I gotta look this up.
It's this. Everybody in the community was like, "Why are y'all doing this?" But he came from a place of insecurity. Now here's one of my bigger issues, and I'm gonna single you out because you were the main one that said this. So
I kind of feel like weird.
no, because I understand over the society, patriarchy, misogyny, all that. I understand all of that.
Okay.
But I truly, in my heart, do not believe it was coming from that standpoint.
Mhm.
I know you personally.
Mhm.
If anyone,
Mhm.
period, if you're right or wrong,
Mhm.
if you think somebody's coming at you any type of way, period, you will check them.
Mhm.
That is it. End of story.
Yeah.
End of question. There's
Yeah.
there's no extra with it. It's
Yeah.
like if you feel like somebody's coming at you the wrong way, you're gonna address it.
Yeah.
So he felt like somebody came at him the wrong way, and he addressed it. It was I really believe it was at the core of just them as people before they were black.
Okay.
Before a black woman and a black man. So here's what I would say. If no man can address a woman if she's acting out.
I didn't say that.
No, but that's the tone that I'm
That's
getting.
gonna be the argument.
Whoa, that should definitely not be telling you.
No, not from you, but
It's not the telling
but
you
in-
shit
but
from
in-
general.
here's my thing. So he didn't like how she came at her,
Okay.
and now all of a sudden he's policing black women.
As a whole.
That's
That was my thing. As a whole.
No.
So it goes from that to now the whole population. Of
And
black
J. Cole?
people is-
That's
Where's
what he
the-
said.
Where's the history?
Oh, okay.
Where's his history been doing that?
Okay, let me say this.
Where do you get that?
I do not believe the takeaway that people got from the message was that you're policing black women. I think the frustration is that
Honesty.
let me speak. I think the frustration is the fact that here's a black woman at that, who's advocating on the front lines, and your
Absolutely.
frustration is not necessarily with her message, but how her tone. And that only came after she made a general statement that you assumed we're basing off of assumptions because she hasn't been a direct, so we can only base it off of assumptions at this point. We can have our own opinions, but we should be basing it off of assumptions. You assumed was about you, and so you made this grand old song about her and how you didn't like her tone. But my thing is, you could have made he said his intent was to criticize leaders in the movement. But the whole song, the terminology that was used in it was to be a negation to her. And that deviated the focus.
I don't agree.
It deviated the focus right now. And my thing is, right now, in that very moment, we're talking about cases of Toy Yin, we're talking about Tony McDade, we're talking about black women who are being abused, sexually assaulted in relation to the movement. And then here you come out with a song.
Everyone, black women and black men. It wasn't just those two. We're talking about the men that have been hung as well.
We were talking about that too. But also, we're talking about the fresh case of Toy Yin. Because, let's be honest, black women are constantly left behind, and just like the LGBT constantly left behind the movements.
But that's not what we're arguing about. That's not even.
That was the argument at the time. There was a
But
frustration.
I'm saying, but there's no argument between them on that point. So that's what I'm. That's
No, it wasn't. But my thing is, your music was a direct contradiction to what the topic was at the time. You deviated the focus.
I don't want to say it's a contradiction.
It was deviating the focus.
But here's what I would say to you. And I really want, because I feel like there's not a lot of objectivity here in this situation.
Mhm.
Did she not do the exact same thing first? She took away attention by calling them out. So and also no. See, but here's the thing: you're defending her to no end. You haven't said one thing that you disagree with. She didn't.
I definitely believe if she had frustration, she could have definitely approached them in private. But we do this all the time with movements, with Me Too movements, Black Lives Matter movement. You see people all the time. Your artists are not out here advocating for us. Where are they at? then we say something, we're like, oh yeah, retweets. I stand with you. I agree with you. But then it's in the case of J. Cole and Kendrick, which I understand respectfully because J. Cole and Kendrick definitely be out here on the front
Exactly.
lines.
And that's the whole point. So
But
basically, I feel
my
like,
thing is, we assumed who it was about. It was a general
and
statement.
I feel like that's where we have our discord. You think it's a general statement, and in my mind, I don't see how you could.
Because you're assuming
So let me ask
it's
you.
about.
Let me ask you a question.
Here's what I say. I can't assume because she laid the foundation. She said top selling artists that talk about black struggle. That is three people.
Artists.
Name.
Who are you?
Ooh.
That's a hard question.
Jay-Z.
Can we put more on J. Cole?
I mean, I'm just trying to be fair right now. I'm just trying to be fair right now.
T.I., do you see what T.I. said in Atlanta?
I did Wakanda Forever. I saw that. I know.
And that's what you came up with.
But I was
But
giving
I'm
examples.
saying,
There's multiple artists.
Chance
What's that
doesn't
one
talk
dude?
about
I'm not a
that.
racist. I'm not a racist.
John Lucas.
Dude, no, there's multiple artists who make
They're not
music.
top
about
selling.
black
He's not
people.
top selling.
Maybe not top
That's
selling.
the point, though. We're not.
She addressed top
Honestly,
selling though.
she laid two check marks. There's only a handful of people that fit those check marks.
But hold on.
T.I. has really never honestly talked about the black struggle.
I did with
that out
that
of the way.
mess up
Jordan
his
Lucas
daughter's
talks
life.
about it, but he's not necessarily top
I
selling.
guess my thing is, maybe I'm just not like paying attention to the top selling part. I was just thinking artists in general. You got artists in general every
I
industry.
know, I
wouldn't
wouldn't
think
think
that.
but to me, when
If she
when
didn't say
said
top
top selling artists, it took me instantly to them. And I was like, damn, she went after them.
All right,
But
perfect.
I was.
Did you have?
But my
Alright,
thing is, if you remove top selling, is
Let me ask you a question real quick.
tweet still valid? It's still valid, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If she was top selling, then we're not having this conversation. J. Cole doesn't feel insecure and attacked.
Hold your debate. This is going great. Halftime.
So
Speak on it.
my question is, Noname woke up in the morning. She said, "I'm gonna go and make this tweet." Or in the evening, whenever it was, she's gonna make this tweet.
It was like May 19th.
Okay. Now is she on the
Yes,
front?
absolutely.
She.
Absolutely.
Not debatable.
No debate.
Okay.
She made a whole
Okay.
book club and everything.
And the reason that I asked is because I don't know her like
She
this,
has,
so I
she
had
has an
to
argument
ask.
that she's more of an actress than a rapper. to be clear.
Okay. So
She
so-
said that she didn't want to perform anymore for these white people because she did not see our black people as these, and she's trying to enlighten our black people.
She felt like her music
Okay,
was falling
okay.
on
Well, let me ask you a question now. We talked about it. You said with our artists, we don't see them out there. When did we ever? I mean, we like to see artists out there, but when it was ever a requirement as an artist? And since you're here, and since you do this now, I need you out here to do.
So basically,
and fight,
what you're saying is why do we put these people on
Yeah, we
the
put them on pedestals, okay, but why? Okay, if they don't show up, we're like, well, this nigga didn't show up. I said, well, where did this nigga say that? Here I am to be your activist and your artist at the same time.
I think it comes down to the fact that, and this is athletes as well, athletes and musicians and all that, basically people that do creative shit for a living and get paid, it's seen as fun. Well, people, we wanted to do that at some point, especially if we play sports. When we were younger, we probably was like, damn, I want to lead. Well, if we sang, damn, I want to
be a famous singer.
be a famous singer. So when we see them do that and we see them, be successful, it's almost, I feel like it's almost like we kind of look to them in some point of our lives and we hold them to a higher standard. But what I will say as far as the discord on that when it comes to musicians is just what she said. If you're making music off of, the black struggle, which in their defense is just their story. In Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole's case, it's just telling their stories to a certain point. But I don't know, I feel like they have a slight responsibility to show up if they're going to be making music off that and profiting off of that type of thing. However, I will say, although they don't do as much as Noname, there's not that many motherfuckers that do as much as Noname. There's no artist that does probably as much as her. But J. Cole and Kendrick, they're not out here. And I just really, they treated this man like he was Sharif Moore. Like he was out here, actually not even say Sharif Moore, because Sharif Moore, that was a situation where I would have loved somebody to try to educate the young dude instead of completely casting him.
I was told her
Yeah,
there
J.
was other
Cole's out here.
transportation
I just feel
options.
like
He got the coon
when
treatment.
we talk,
Did he not?
I didn't like that
You got a
because
cold
like I didn't think he was fan of J.
He
Cole.
just disagreed.
And my
You
frustration
never loved
is
black
that
women.
I don't know. When it comes to like our entertainers being activists, I think about our predecessors.
Can't argue with that
And
part.
so, like, our previous, like, the predecessors, the ancestors. So when you think about the civil rights movement, you saw nothing but entertainers on the front lines activizing
Absolutely.
and using their platform.
Absolutely.
Harry Belafonte, James Baldwin, Senator Poirier.
Kareem, Muhammad Ali.
Yes,
all of
all of them, athletes and entertainers.
But what I will say is, back in the day, it was everywhere. Athletes and musicians and stuff like that. Nowadays, they can really isolate themselves to a certain point.
And that's my frustration because my thing is right now, as a black people, like, our voices are constantly being silenced.
Right.
And so when you have an opportunity to amplify our voices, why not do it? I'm not saying you got to be right there advocating for Auntie Tajay again, but you could definitely be speaking from your perspective and experience as a black man or woman.
Absolutely.
And people are not doing that.
But
and so her
what I
frustration.
will say though is J. Cole was not J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar.
Of course, I
not
don't
the people.
think J. Cole and Kendrick are one of those people.
That's why I say our Discord keeps coming because
Yes, and I think I'm still focused on the fact that it's a general statement without the context of top selling. You're focused on top selling. I wasn't even focused on that. I was focused on artists as a whole. I wasn't even thinking about musicians. I was thinking about artists as a whole because there's a lot of motherfuckers who's in the industry who don't say shit about Black lives. They might put up a black post and that's it.
There is a good amount that do as well.
And there is a good amount to do. But I feel like you need to be able to look at our predecessors in the civil rights, Black Panther movies in the 90s and 80s who were willing to sacrifice their careers to be able to advance Black people as a whole. You got nowadays folks out here being like, oh, I don't know that life. Me and Mike Brown have the same. Oh, I don't know that experience. Because I'm a nigga with money? That makes no sense to me. It's my frustration. So for me, I'm not focused on top selling at all. I'm focused on the general station. At the end of the day, there's people in the industry who we support. We've got them to that point, and they have nothing to say about our experiences or their experience as Black people. Absolutely. So that's where I'm like, when it comes to J. Cole, I don't view him as somebody like that. I don't view him as somebody who's right there. You can't. I agree with you. And with Kendrick, I don't view him as something like that. Could Noname have reached out to him personally if she felt like it was directly towards him? Yes. But my focus is not on the top selling part. My focus is on the fact that it's artists, period. Right. They are nowhere to be found until it's okay. It's never been okay to advocate for your people at any point of history. You just have to be willing to sacrifice it. And if that's okay, if you're not willing to sacrifice it, but there's little things you could be doing to be advancing our people and other people, and people are not doing it. Having a blackout post does nothing. Having a little tweet does nothing. And that's also my frustration with her tweet, because she was like, y'all not making tweets. Tweets is the surface. That does nothing. That's bare minimum. So that was my critique of her. You're asking for them to tweet. Anybody can tweet all day, but they're not on the front lines. They're not advocating. They're not petitioning. They're not meeting with legislators. They're not meeting with other industry professionals to make stuff happen. So that's my critique of her. You want to tweet Noname? That's nothing. Then there's the assumption that it's J. Cole. My frustration is that J. Cole is right there with Mike Brown, right there with Concerned Student 1950, right there with Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice. You got Kendrick Lamar right there advocating and speaking on our people. So the whole association with them, I have no frustration or any ill opinions about them, because I know they advocate and they're constantly pushing for our advancement. My frustration with Noname is, you want to tweet? That's the bare minimum. The bare minimum.
Here's my question, and I figured I found this. I feel like I wasn't on Twitter a lot. I've been getting on a lot more lately. Here's what I feel like. This is what I've been seeing. And y'all can tell me if I'm wrong or if y'all seen something different. And this is in general, not even in Twitter, just everywhere. People don't want to. People feel some type of way about sharing knowledge a lot of the time, and a lot of times it's not about spreading the wealth of knowledge. It's about being right. And I feel like that's a huge problem. That pisses me off. So, touching on J. Cole's song, people wanted to say he was policing a black woman, but if you yell at, here's the thing: if you come at somebody the wrong way, even if you're trying to teach them something, it's going.
You could have came to this.
It might fall on deaf ears. If I'm trying to teach you to play basketball, and I say, "Bro, can't you make a fucking shot?"
It's like your trash. It's like with your parents. You like okay. Doing math. Like, what's 3 plus 3? 7. What the hell is 3 plus 3?
And he's like, you don't know how to do this, bro? It's gonna be hard for me to learn.
Yep.
So it's just like,
I got a point. I think for that, I agree with that because, I'll put my part in. Y'all can go back to y'all discussion. My thing is that for me, I do think that the time that this came out and that Queen song, I can see why it was triggering for the black woman to be like, man, I'm like, okay, well that makes. I've been arguing with people on voice memos. I hate voice memos and hearing people out. And they make good points. I was like, you know what? I can respect a good point, and that was a very good point. Because at that time, the second half of J. Cole's song, I loved it. Like, I loved just the explanation of like, hey, I'm not here, that we can get here this way. Right. But that you started off with this
tone,
and I can see why it immediately is like, okay.
But here's what I like. Here's what I'll say. He didn't say.
Something about
this. He didn't say change your tone. To be honest, he said your tone is. He said something about the Queen's tone is about. And let's talk about his feeling.
Yeah.
So if he wants to be insecure about that, which the whole song
is a complete insecure response. We've already established that. He established
And like, and people were like, when he told her to start like to tone it down, she should do this. And I'm like, wait, he literally didn't say that. Like,
But he did though. He did tell her to tone it down though. He
all right,
did.
let me go back and finish
He
my
told
hat
you
talk.
to modify her tone while she
Let
talking.
me finish my hat talk. So I'm gonna
He said teach people.
So teach people,
looking
yes.
down on them.
So that's my first point. So I think J. Cole
That's
should
real.
have kept it and not
That's
drop
real,
it.
bro. People talk down to people a whole lot.
Right.
Trying to teach.
Going forward, like I think what you said
You
about the
laughing
knowledge
at when
thing.
we're trying to make
I
our
just-
points.
That-
I mean,
I
that's exactly
I
that.
listened to the point,
Are y'all
but
done?
it's just
Are y'all done for a second?
frustrating.
I got enough for a second.
My bad, bro.
Good Lord. All right, cool. So like my big thing is I like how you said about the like tone wise, everything you say can be interpreted however somebody's gonna interpret. So I remember like literally as a kid, like being there, like my mom or pops, and they're trying to teach me like science, and I hate science. And these things are clicking to them so quick, and I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, well, it's first it's like, okay, do you get it? It's like, why don't you understand? It's like, dude, like you make me seem like I'm just fucking stupid. Like I don't know. Like even if that wasn't their intention, they just want you to get it. But why does it have to come in like that? Like literally, you could have just been like, yo, son, this is why, this is it. This is why this is this. Now, what's that? J. Cole's tweets did not help him in my opinion, just because he was like he didn't know. I said, well, you can look things up if you want to.
He said he don't
but this-
read.
No,
That's all almost done. Y'all go back to y'all debate. Then so like going off that, I'm about to, hey, I'm just saying. So that he comes off of that, right? So, but the thing is, I will say too, with knowledge that people are working, get it, and not want you to have it because they work and you didn't work for it. But
That's
it
So
can
about
be
the knowledge?
yeah, it's so
Absolutely.
easy.
I don't like that.
It's, bro, I know people that are like
Oh,
this. That literally
my
will be like, well, you can look it up. Like me, I'm like, well, if you have it, it's like when you go to class. If my little brother comes up behind me and there's the same book, here's my notes. I have here, take them. I already got it. Cool. They're like, well, you gotta do it yourself.
To be quite honest, it'd be more amongst black people
Literally.
than it would be toward
Bro.
like a white person.
Literally.
If a white person came up, you'd be happy to explain.
You
like,
see in the comments when they come out.
You'd be happy to explain, like, yeah, this is what happens. You need to understand it. But when this is somebody that looks like us, it's like,
So hard.
like, bro, I seen a whole narrative when he was saying like J. Cole mad because at her tone, but he want her to spoon feed him information. Bro, half of you niggas was spoon fed information. It's only about 10 of y'all that actually went and read the books.
Yeah.
How many of us go and look at somebody else's notes on Google search, and then we probably find 3 sources, realize that we find 3 sources, it's true. That's the reason. Well, 3 credible
If you've been
sources.
in college, you understand that this is really, you had done it already. Perfect. Let me
That's what I'm
just take
saying. Like,
it.
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's very.
You got an A? I sure did.
It's only one person that came up with these notes that you read. So it's like you were given the same notes.
That's
And you might have found them easier or harder. But why do you have an issue sharing? Especially when somebody's trying to just ask you. It's like they might you want to say that they didn't have the intuition to look it up themselves, but you present yourself as someone who is knowledgeable. They took the intuition to ask you because they respect your knowledge about it. So spread it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think this also I'm gonna say this. I had asked this the other day because I really didn't understand why would you like what's wrong with sharing information. Like why are you telling people if they ask you really want to
Go
know
to the library.
you could Google it. Like, why did you look up like that's rude? I feel like you
just send me
sending
your
somebody
source.
off
Yeah.
who really wants to know.
I know you
And
own it. Like,
and I think it's an excuse to say, well, I'm just tired of repeating myself to people and them not really listen. I feel like if you're in a position to educate, share information, you do that. Now that's on them whether they want to take that information and use it or they just trying to hear you talk, just hear you talk. Yeah. But you can't say that and then block other people off from trying to learn. But you want motherfuckers to learn and do some shit.
They can never say you didn't try to help.
And it takes less than 5 minutes. I guarantee you, anybody who really understands everything that's going on and has research behind it, it probably takes them less than 5 minutes to point them out to about 5 pieces of literature or research. It's like, look at these. These are my sources. Go ahead and look it up. Because I've seen people that actually do that on Twitter. It's very easy. They put their sources.
Yeah.
Go check this out. Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it, sister. And it's that simple.
So my frustration is just the fact that like people criticize Noname for doing that, and Noname doesn't do that. Noname really like is one of those people who like will. You want to know about it? I have no problem giving it to you. I created
They never looked into it. They never looked into Noname.
Yeah, I even created a whole book club for niggas to get educated because I was once one of the niggas who wasn't educated.
And that's also an issue because there's certain narratives that are being attached to both of them.
Yeah.
Now,
The whole misogynistic
right now, J. Cole's a
whole-
misogynistic coon.
And then
Literally,
Noname
I didn't know what to say. It's like
like,
I didn't want to say like
title.
I didn't want to say like
a cautious person, them 5%ers who don't want to tell people
Exactly.
stuff.
And
And that's my
either.
frustration.
That's not either.
My thing is just like kind of like this. Like, okay, I'll say this in regards to like tone. I guess in regards to people who are knowledgeable. At some point, you do
People
get
are
frustrated.
good to know
You
that
do
song.
get exhausted and frustrated
Absolutely.
with constantly telling people information because niggas do not be listening. You be like, we are dying on these streets. Read this, get hit, and then niggas be like, okay, we dying? Okay,
And that's-
I'm gonna get back to it.
and I
And then you're like
absolutely understand.
constantly beating a dead horse.
Absolutely.
Constantly
here's
beating a dead
here's the thing.
You eventually get exhausted, so your
You're
tone
right.
might not be
You're
correct
right.
all the
You're
time.
right. And here's the thing. I understand what you're saying, but everyone is different.
Everyone
Every
is
situation is
different.
different. J. Cole's not one of them niggas that needs to be sat down and explain what's going on with our
Of
people.
course not.
He probably now he don't know as much detail
Yeah.
and like the nuances of everything, but he's not one
Yeah.
of them dudes that needs to be sat down and
And
explained.
spoon fed. I didn't like that. I didn't like that. I didn't like when he was
He just
talking
like-
so much.
It's
They
was disrespectful.
They're making him sound like he was just ignorant.
Yes.
Now he kind of opened the door when
He
he was like,
did
I
say
don't
that
read.
when I don't read, I
I
just
didn't
think.
Like I said, I didn't like
damn.
that either. I really wish he would have just said. His first two was like, I say what I say and I stand behind it. And then
And then
last
I
week,
support Noname.
those two, that's it.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll
She
hop on
personal.
that. Let's keep going to Noname just dropped her joint. What was that, about 2 days ago?
Uh-huh.
Or yesterday, it may have been.
Uh-huh.
So Noname, here's the thing. I
Much more
ain't care. I liked it. But
You think it was
it
much
was,
more of an attack?
I do agree. I think it was. I think
Much
it was.
more of an attack.
And people are like, oh, she solved it in 67. She solved the problem. I said, well, y'all just got on Cole yesterday
Man,
for the same thing, but she solved it in 60
just
seconds
hypocriting
today.
it up.
Like, what's like
Hypocriting it up.
Maybe
Like,
higher
listen,
just.
he literally was like, you know,
powerful niggas
she's
here work.
smarter than me. She's
Yeah.
a leader. Y'all holding me to a light that I can't handle. I wish you would teach people and not talk down on them. Basically, is what he said. She was like, "Are people dying in the streets and you talking about this? Toyin died and you talking about this? All this stuff is happening and you talking about this?"
Yeah.
You talked about it first. I was
She came
responding
in
to what you
She
said.
came in a couple times.
My question, maybe, I don't know why
I really feel
I'm
like-
defending so much. Maybe because I like resonate so much because it's like, at the end of the day, the focus was deviated. And she's saying, get back focused. And
But
maybe,
she started it.
and it was,
She did start it.
don't get me wrong. It was shot for shot
To be,
at J.
and
Cole.
also to be honest,
and J. Cole did shot for shot at her.
I mean, but
So
yeah,
of course the
So they
response
both
is gonna be
goofy.
like that.
Yeah.
They're both goofy.
No, absolutely.
This
not.
wasn't
She was
the
goofy
time.
first. She
It
was
wasn't
goofy
the
first,
time.
though.
But you also
because here's the thing. By her not,
Goofy and Mac.
I can make a
Dumb
point
and
that
Dumber.
by her
That's
not being
literally
specific
Mhm.
and literally saying who she had on her mind,
Yeah.
that made it even that
Made it
blew it
worse.
up much worse. If she would just said a name,
Mhm.
I promise you it wouldn't
Would have been
as
less bad.
So now she opened the door for ambiguity and people
Uh-huh.
be like, oh, she's talking about this and that.
I put it like this. I just personally feel
Two more
like
points and then we'll continue.
if we take away
That's
J.
the problem.
If we take away
That's
J.
the point.
Cole from it,
I'm talking about
If
two more
we-
comments and then we'll.
if we take away J. Cole from it, I feel like at the end of the day, even if you look at the people who were tweeting about both songs, who were talking about both songs, their focus was still shifted. And like I feel like yes, it wasn't the time. This isn't the time or place to be talking like you coming for me. I don't like your tone. You making general statements. J. Cole out here. This isn't the time. It's not the time at all.
Absolutely.
And my thing is, at the end of the day, the focus is deviated. The focus was deviated, and you saw it went from number 2 trending, number 4, number 6, to back to number 2 trending with her response. And my thing is, the focus is being deviated. We're talking about Toyin, a black woman who was on the front lines advocating for George Floyd, Tony McDade, who was murdered by somebody within our own community, sexually assaulted by somebody in our own community. And we're not even talking about that. What are we talking about? We're talking about J. Cole, and we're talking about Noname and their songs.
However,
And I feel like her song, don't get me wrong, it was shot for song, and it wasn't the time or place.
also
But at the
got
end of the day, she was
distracted.
still saying, y'all are not focused.
But it still got us
But
distracted.
she's
Here's the thing, you gotta understand.
doing the same
Just because she
thing.
talked about it in the song doesn't mean it didn't distract us. Because J. Cole wasn't directly talking about our people that have died, but he was still talking about something that was related. We have to educate ourselves.
Time.
You're right, but just that she brought it up.
And I also feel like the terminology he could have used would have been just as powerful. Honestly, more powerful if he wouldn't use terminology that would have directly related to her. He used a lot of her, women, all that. When he could have used general terms, pronouns, and associations that could have been resonating with a lot more people.
Hers a pronoun. I'm just.
I'm talking with days. I'm talking days. You
But
could
he-
use pronouns
you're
that
right.
could have been inclusive to everybody.
You're right.
But you made it specifically for a
For her.
woman.
It was for
And
her.
then black women already feel like we're silencing the movement already, and then we're talking about a black woman within the movement, and then you made a comment about this black woman's tone.
Absolutely.
You could have made a generalized terms
And that's-
within the
and
song,
that's
and it
all-
would have resonated with
and
everybody in this movement and still
and
been
that's
time.
why-
But she could have name dropped.
And that's why.
In the
that's-
first place.
But also, that's why I think
Yeah,
there's an issue. It's
missing
like yes, y'all are silenced, but every situation doesn't.
She made. I will say this. She made a general tweet. She didn't say She said a general tweet, but J. Cole didn't do that. He didn't make a general song. He
Yeah,
used
because-
terminology that was associated with her.
because he felt insecure and attacked.
She was being
Well, so then I think we'll disagree on what on pretty
I think it
overall,
just stems down to the fact that
it could have been worse.
honestly took it as a general statement. I took it as a direct.
It's your perspective. Everybody's perspective is different. Twitter turned into this philosophy that I guess everybody got these psychological degrees.
No, I think that
overnight. So
I have PhDs.
Well, wait, can I say this though? I feel like if you are a Black person and you have knowledge about what's going on with our people, and you have the opportunity to educate another Black person, you need to do that, because at one point you weren't educated. At one point you weren't hip. At one point you were ignorant. And we're living in a time right now, we need all of our people to be educated. We need all of our people fighting on the front lines or having different, roles in the movement, whether it's just being somebody who's signing petitions, whether it's somebody who's literally giving shelter to people who's in the movement, whether that's being right there on the front lines, maybe getting a rubber bullet. But if you are a Black person and you know what's hip and you know what's going on, you need to be right there on the front lines educating your Black people before you're willing to speak to white people or your white co-workers about what's going on. Our people should be the focus of educating. If you got this whole complex of, well, I had to research and do that, well, fuck that, move on. Because you need to be stepping aside while we have other people who are in the movement who are willing to educate other people. Right. That's my take on it.
Knowledge ain't no good if you ain't gonna share it.
If you're the only one who knows it.
Absolutely. So,
But I just want to say this last part. Although I said I felt like hers was more of an attack, neither of them were attacked, neither of them were pissed. I don't have that big an issue with the songs because I feel like it was their way of having a conversation with each other. They're both artists, and it was a
I wanted to sit
conversation.
down, just like you did with what, Little Pump. I wanted to sit down between the two of them.
I'm
would it have gone how we wanted to? No, but I think
it would have been much more. It would have been much more enlightening and entertaining than him and
with
Lil Pump.
Noname and J Cole sitting down.
Yeah. And he was like, "Yeah, y'all young niggas, you just got to focus on this neck." Yeah.
all right, bro. Who knows that niggas in? So, 1-4, I guess this is one of the last points here.
Take it down, Julio.
Quick, man. I won't leave that either. I think for our age, at least our age group, which is kind of wide, it's a little older, it's a little younger than us too. So this is a very proactive group, and okay, cool. This is what we want. This is how it's gonna come. I think everybody kind of has their own reasons why it's so important to them. And I feel like now, it more than ever, the importance, at least for like myself, is the fact that even if it don't happen while I'm here, it was progression. It was actively getting better while I was here. So that's my whole thing. It's like, especially for the idea of like, obviously I got like a kid come to the world now, so like, damn, he's gonna be born into the same thing. Hold on. I'm not gonna waste it. We gotta get off.
Is it dead?
I don't know what that sound was.
I think it's that laptop.
It's still on.
Oh, there was a laptop over there.
The tablet.
But like I said, it's like bringing a kid here. It's like, damn, he's gonna be born into it without knowing anything. He's born into the same thing that we face already, right? So it's like my idea is kind of like going back to the Martin Luther King speech, like the mountaintop speech. Like he might not get there, but he can see it. Like I can perceivably see it happening. But if it don't happen while I'm here, it won't be lack of trying. It won't be like me sitting back while I was changing, that type thing. So like for y'all, like what is important for y'all, or what is something that y'all really kind of stand on, a big part for you, like in the protest? It could be anything from like literally just the equality of which the common fucking sense that this is so hard for people to understand why equality is a debate. I don't understand why.
I think my thing is like we can have different perspectives, but at the end of the day, we should be growing to understand one another's perspective. And one of the greatest examples I can think of is Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. They was always going toe for toe, talking about each other in the movement.
No,
they definitely was. Uncle Tom's.
Malcolm used to go.
Martin Luther King. But at the end of the day, they both, if you notice, before they had passed away, they both understood one another and actually bettered themselves. Malcolm X he realized that we actually need people on all lines to advocate for Black people. Martin Luther King understood, like, okay, we might have equality and civil rights, but it's nothing like having economic power for Black people. So
and they both progressed on that. Chris, would you have what anything for this? For the just like what the importance of it to you, like at least just for a personal aspect.
I mean, like I said, I love to see the unity. Hopefully, it creates change. I mean, our momentum right now is at an all-time high. I think we just need to keep that. We just need to keep our figurative foots on their necks, basically.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, kind of like Chris was saying, I mean, for me, it's really the unity. And a big part is just like the power of our people. Like we are really powerful. Like no matter which direction we look at it, no matter what we go through, we're powerful as hell. People hate to see it, but we still gonna do what they do at the end of the day. So that's really my thing.
I would just say, like, overall, it's really exciting to see, like I said earlier, I think it kind of makes me more aware, like, of my surroundings and like how I deal with people, like, especially like white people right now. Like, they've made it very weird, like, very weird experience. Like, even just doing regular day-to-day stuff, like going to the store, you can tell people look at you more, or people are overly nice in conversation. Like, I remember when I came back to work, everybody was, you know what, how you doing today? Like, we didn't ever talk no other time, dude. Like, you know, just keep it pushing. Like, it's just real extra, and it's like, you don't have to do this. Just like.
But I kind of like that too, because that means they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They are.
And they feel a need to have
Exactly. They feel a need to, you know, make a change or do something. So if that uncomfortability leads to something,
I will say I went to Starbucks my first day at work, and while it was a group, and they were like, "We are so sorry." Well, mind you, I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, "Who's she talking to?" She's like, "We are so sorry for what's going on the plaza." And they bought my coffee. So I was like, "This is a good start." You're in the right direction. Okay, so usually we do what we listen to right now. So we'll get straight through it real quick. Go ahead. What do you listen to?
So the new Lil Yachty came out. Lil Boat 3, whatever. I don't know what's called. Have you listened to it already?
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I was saying. So the first 2 songs, I was like, okay. After that, there was a stretch of like 4 or 5 songs. The one with ASAP and Tyler, and then the one with Future, and then the one with Drab Day.
Like Lil Key to somebody on there. It's like a stretch.
And I thought, I was like, oh, you on this type of time?
Yeah, yes.
It's that Fast and Furious type joint.
And then it went back down. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I like
that stretch. First of all, listen. That song with Tyler and
that like that Tokyo Drift type joint. TRM was stupid.
Those 2 verses, some of the best verses I've ever heard all year. Tierra's verse.
She went stupid, bro. Hey, what you listen to, dog?
Me, I actually tapped into that new, what's her name? Tiana Taylor. Hey, listen, I was like, damn.
It's hit like that?
Oh, it's hit like that.
All right, so it's hit like that.
It's old story beat type vibe.
I mean, it's like a combination.
So I'm playing in the car right now. It's gonna hit.
African flair in there, boy. I said,
so I'm playing in the car on the way there. It's gonna hit right now.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. Mary, what you listen to?
Same as Tiana Taylor. I just started listening to Pierre Bourne's Deluxe of the Poof, whatever album, The Life of Pierre. And I liked those songs. I think he did very well. Who else am I listening to? I'm good. I'm still listening to Drake, of course, the demo. And yeah, that's probably it.
I give Chris credit. I was listening to that Freddie Gibbs tape. He's going crazy. That Freddie Gibbs tape was the best tape of the year. And I don't know how close.
There's not a better feeling than putting somebody on that they like. It's a great feeling.
I'm about to
that Freddie Gibbs was going crazy, bro.
What's the name of it? I'm about to go.
Start up Alfredo.
Babies and Fools might be my favorite. I'm cool. I think Glaze.
Miss Game.
Oh, when I'm listening I'm listening to Chloe and Halle on Golly Hour.
Heard it's going crazy.
It is really good. I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot of diversity in regards to the production of the tracks, and Halle is the one who actually really produced the majority of the tracks, which is really dope. But it is a really good. Halle is the really soft spoken who sings like 1920s.
Who's Ariel? Is that the younger one?
It's Halle.
Okay.
It's Halle.
She look like Ariel. I don't know.
Halle's the one who's gonna be playing Ariel.
In the Little Mermaid. Voice is crazy.
Voice is crazy. That's what I said. She got the whole 1920s type of vibe, type of singing. But I'll say this: it's worth it. It's got a vibe for everything. Forgive Me is on there, and I guess because we're dropping an Ungodly Hour music video, so yeah.
Cool. Perfect. I don't know what the percent on, but real quick, so. Dang, this is the end. This is the end of volume 2. Perfect. So we appreciate y'all, man. This is the second go around. We've been through a whole season. We keep getting better. We keep growing. Volume 3 is coming, man. We back in Kansas City now. Who knows what's going on? COVID's it's not gone, but we acting like it's gone. So we probably got events and stuff coming safely.
Yeah.
We appreciate y'all. We thank y'all for tuning in, man. At the end of the day, you know what's going
on.
Black
Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter for sure.
All Black Lives Matter.
Always and forever. If you ain't messing with us, I mean, I'm following. It's cool. It's easy. Turn your headphones off. It's cool too. It's all good. We don't really care to lose people like that. So. Besides that,
support black businesses.
Indeed.
Support black businesses.
Support black businesses.
Shout out to the director's cut.
Director's cut on 18 Vine.
Should I go chicken go? Shoot.
All right. That's it.
Well,